Hey guys, Nick with Precision here, back with another video, and today we want to talk about the wide world of cannabinoids. So what are these molecules? What do they do to your body? How are they produced? How do we isolate them? And how do we ultimately use them for a better standard of human health and life overall? So the first thing I want to talk about is this entire world of cannabinoids. And you see we've got some of them back up here on the chart. But the important thing to know is there's about 113 identified cannabinoids right now. A lot of these do come out of the cannabis plant, but it's interesting to know some of them come out of other plants. Some of them are produced within your own body. So understanding how these cannabinoids affect our body is extremely important to understanding how to isolate them and how to manufacture them in an extraction process. The first thing that I'd like to touch on is the endocannabinoid system within your actual body. So you have something in your body called the endocannabinoid system, and what these are actually receptors similar to like a neurotransmitter receptor in your brain, except it's an endocannabinoid receptor. So they'll specifically bind to these cannabinoids. And you have these endocannabinoid receptors in two different forms. It's called a CB1 receptor and a CB2 receptor. So the CB1 receptors are generally concentrated through your brain, cerebral cortex, your central nervous system, and so forth. And the CB2 receptors are more concentrated through your immune system, your lymphatic system, your body, and so forth. And what you'll find is, as we're looking at these different cannabinoids, they have a different reaction and different interaction with these endocannabinoid receptors in your body. And these endocannabinoid receptors are ultimately what regulate your sleep, your appetite, your immune system. So when you look at all these different world of cannabinoids and how they affect these receptors in your body, this is why you see all these benefits to cannabinoids, or cannabis in particular, because it's the most cannabinoid-rich plant that we know of. So things like THC increasing your appetite, reducing nausea, things like CBD reducing pain, reducing anxiety, reducing insomnia. These are all because of the effect on your endocannabinoid system within your body. So understanding more about these cannabinoids, understanding more about your endocannabinoid system, and as a whole, understanding this entire field of science is what is going to progress us from using cannabis as a medicinal plant to being able to actually isolate these cannabinoids and have many different uses, many therapeutic uses, and as I said previously, contributing to overall human health and quality of life in the long term. Now, when I said there's 113 cannabinoids that are known today, we're always discovering new ones, and scientists are actually synthesizing new cannabinoids or new cannabinoid derivatives that have effects on your endocannabinoid system. But one of the most interesting things is you can look at some other plants that have cannabinoids or cannabinoid derivatives in them, like echinacea. And it's pretty commonly known by everybody that echinacea is a herb that has an effect mostly on your immune system. And part of the effect of the positive effect that is on your immune system is because of the cannabinoids in the echinacea actually binding and modulating your CB2 endocannabinoid receptors within your body. So I'm a firm believer that the universe has kind of given us everything that we need in order to survive, in order to thrive. And we just haven't discovered all these fields of sciences yet. And botanicals in particular are a massive passion of what we do here at Precision, looking at these different botanicals, obviously particularly cannabis and hemp, but also looking at these cannabinoids and how they interact with your system and how they can contribute positively in the long term. So we talked a little bit about how cannabinoids are occurring in all sorts of different botanicals, but it's also interesting to note there are cannabinoids and cannabinoid derivatives that are endogenous to the human body, meaning your body actually produces these compounds. So your body is in turn producing these compounds to bind to your endocannabinoid system so that your body can maintain homeostasis, whether it's, immune modulation or sleep modulation or whatever it is. Your body's always trying to come back into balance. And it's very interesting that these molecules in particular binding to your endocannabinoid system are what help keeps your body in balance. And if you're not consuming them, say from outside botanicals, your body can actually produce some of these different derivatives of cannabinoids endogenously within your own system. It's very fascinating to know. So now that we have an understanding of all of these different cannabinoids, how they can produce how they can be produced either outside of your body in botanicals, or they can be produced endogenously within your body, and also having an understanding that the majority of cannabinoids, 80 plus of them, are actually found in cannabis or in hemp. Let's take a look at what these molecules look like and what all the different derivatives are, and how the science of this kind of plays out in a very overview, rudimentary, layman's type of fashion. So these are all cannabinoids that can commonly be found in the cannabis or hemp plant. And you can see that there's some common ones that most everybody will be familiar with, such as THC and CBD, but there's also some uncommon ones, and these are commonly referred to as the minors, but these are the outliers like CBE, CBN, CBL, CBC, and CBG. Now, when we look at these, we'll say common minor cannabinoids, the parent cannabinoid is referred to as CBG. This is the parent cannabinoid from a chemical structural standpoint because it's easily converted into any of these other cannabinoids. So really starting with the CBG as a building block, we can convert that CBG to CBD, we can convert it to THC, we can convert it to CBC, and unfortunately there's not a strain of cannabis or hemp right now that's ultra heavy CBG, but there are people that are working on the DNA manipulation and the genetic variation within these cannabis plants in order to make CBG dominant strains. So you can see how advanced botanists, advanced chemists are already exploring this world of botanical research. They're already exploring the massive amounts of possibilities by shaping the genome of the cannabis and hemp plant, and ultimately being able to produce a wide range of cannabinoids. So what we really focus at here in Precision is how are these cannabinoids contained in the plant, number one? How do we isolate these cannabinoids from an extraction standpoint? What is the best way to do that while preserving them, while not degrading them? And ultimately, the second field of research surrounding this that we really focus on is how are we converting these now? So how can we go from CBG to CBD or CBD to CBE, and what are these conversion methodologies? How stable are these conversion methodologies? And by isolating these individual molecules, what future use could they have for example, managing disease or increasing somebody's quality of life? These are all things that could be considered, and again, going back to the firm belief that kind of the universe has given us everything that we need, we just need to discover it. These are all naturally occurring compounds that are found ubiquitously in nature through a variety of different botanicals. All we're doing is concentrating them, studying them, and figuring out how they're used most effectively within, human health and the human sort of life cycle. So for those of you that are more familiar with cannabinoids, you can see THC here being one of the main ones. This is a psychoactive cannabinoid that works principally on the CB1 receptors. And again, the cerebral brainstem psychedelic type high that you receive from this is because it has an affinity for the CB1 receptors, although it does bind also to the CB2 receptors. When we're looking at these molecules here, we would actually look at a chart that would have about 80 of these molecules. So if you're looking at a common cannabis plant, whether in trace amounts or in large amounts in different concentrations, you have this entire spectrum of all these cannabinoids. And it's commonly known that there's about, like I said, about 80 in cannabis. Now, once you have these individual molecules, there's different derivatives of these molecules called isomers. And one of the most common things that you see with THC is we see THCA here, which is the acidic version. What actually happens in most cases with THC is it's decarboxylated, which means we lose this carboxyl group here. This is just a CO2 that comes off through heat. And what happens with that is that actually removing this allows it to bind to your endocannabinoid system. Without removing this, it doesn't bind to your endocannabinoid system, which is why if you eat raw cannabis or you eat raw THC that's not been decarboxylated, for the most part, you won't get high unless it decarboxylates in your body, and there's some enzymatic reactions in your body that can do that, but not as prevalent as doing it ahead of time with a heat-based reaction. In addition to this, there's all sorts of different isomers, and those of you that are commonly familiar with THC understand that there's different isomers, and some of the commonly known ones are delta 8. There's also delta 9, but there's several other ones. There's delta 10, there's delta 7. So these different molecules can also be manipulated through simple reactions and or things like decarboxylation, simple things like photooxidation and things like that can alter the structure of these molecules. So really looking at this from a overview standpoint, not only do you have 85, 87 different cannabinoids that have been discovered within the cannabis plant, you have some that are in different botanicals like echinacea and other botanicals throughout the world of domain. And you have all these working together synergistically. And then you have all these different isomers of these molecules, and you have this system within your body that's ready to accept and bind these molecules to regulate the homeostasis and bring your body back into balance. So it's really a fascinating field of research. And what you'll find, or what you'll see, I think, over the next 5 to 10 years, is you'll start to see these molecules start to become more and more prevalent. We've already seen, a market that was 5 years ago only knew what THC was. Then we saw CBD come in. Now we're starting to see a lot of CBN for insomnia. We're starting to see a lot of CBG being sold and genetics being isolated for this. So we're just kind of at the tip of the iceberg. One of the things that I would say for extraction companies is this is a field of science that you should understand at least rudimentary level, or have somebody, a partner such as Precision, that understands this in a very much more intimate level, because the business will change over the next 5 to 10 years, and you'll ultimately see these molecules being combined and being used for different uses, and you'll see this spread very vastly throughout the entire cannabis and extraction space, throughout the consumables of cannabinoids, and it'll ultimately make new markets. Every time one of these pops up, a new market is going to pop up for it, a new use is going to pop up for it. The furtherance of the studying of these molecules will give this industry additional tailwind, and the extraction, isolation, manipulation of these molecules is really the name of the game. You have to understand that science. You have to understand how you're going to extract and isolate these molecules in order to not only help people on the go forward, but also to have a thorough understanding and solid base of science surrounding your business, surrounding your extraction company. This is something that we're continually working on. We've got a lot of good IP and methodology surrounding the conversion of a lot of these molecules, and it's something that we look forward to providing to our client base and helping assist them navigate the future waters of the cannabis and hemp industry. So thank you for watching the video today. I look forward to bringing you a new one every week, and see you guys soon.